Welcome to Whisker Tales, where every whisker has a story. As the first rays of sunlight spread across the peaceful rooftops of Whisker Village, a tiny white kitten named Snow sat quietly beside an old wooden cart. The village slowly came to life. Shopkeepers opened their doors, birds filled the air with cheerful songs, and neighbors greeted one another with warm smiles. Yet among all the morning excitement, no one noticed the little kitten, patiently watching the world around him. Snow wasn't the biggest kitten in the village. He wasn't the fastest, the strongest, or the loudest. Many believed someone so small could never make a difference. But what the villagers couldn't see was something far. That morning, Snow noticed an elderly gray cat struggling to carry a heavy basket, overflowing with fresh vegetables and warm bread. While others walked past without slowing down, Snow hurried forward with a gentle smile. Without saying a word, the tiny kitten lifted one side of the heavy basket and helped the elderly cat continue the journey. The elderly cat smiled warmly and softly whispered, "Thank you, little one." Snow smiled back, Snow's kindness. Across the village street, three larger young cats watched the tiny white kitten and burst into laughter. They pointed at Snow and mocked him, heard every word. But instead of becoming angry, he quietly continued walking. Snow kept walking with a smile. He did not let their words change his kind heart. The village became peaceful again. Children played happily. Birds sang from the tall trees. Everything felt calm. Then, without warning, a loud cry filled the air. "Help! Help!" someone shouted. A little golden puppy had slipped into the river. The strong water pulled the puppy farther and farther away. The villagers ran to the river. They looked at the fast water, but no one knew what to do. Some were afraid. Others called for help. But every second, the puppy was carried farther downstream. Snow looked at the frightened puppy. He knew there was no time to wait. Without thinking about the danger, Snow ran as fast as he could toward the river. The villagers watched in surprise. They could not believe the smallest kitten was running toward the danger. Snow jumped onto the first slippery rock, then the second, then the third. The river roared beneath him. Water splashed high into the air. One wrong step could send Snow into the rushing river, but Snow did not stop. The puppy reached out with a tiny paw. Snow stretched as far as he could. Their paws were only a few inches apart. Then, Snow reached just a little farther. At last, their paws touched. Snow held on tightly. The strong river pulled against them, trying to tear them apart. Snow's paws began to slip on the wet rock. For one scary moment, it looked like they would both fall into the river. But Snow would not let go. He took a deep breath. He used every bit of strength he had. Slowly, little by little, Snow pulled the puppy closer. The villagers watched without saying a word. No one could take their eyes off the tiny white kitten. With one final pull, Snow lifted the little puppy onto the riverbank. The puppy was safe. Snow fell onto the soft grass. He was tired, wet, and breathing hard. For a few seconds, no one said a word. The whole village stood still. Then the little puppy ran to Snow and gave him the biggest hug. "Thank you," the puppy whispered with tears in his eyes. Soon, the puppy's mother came running. She held her little puppy close, then turned to Snow with tears of joy. "You saved my child," she said softly. "Thank you." Snow smiled and gently nodded. Helping others was enough to make him happy. Just then, the village elder walked through the crowd. Everyone stepped aside to let the wise old cat pass. The elder stopped in front of Snow and looked into his bright blue eyes. "Today," the elder said, "you showed us what a real hero looks like." The village became quiet once again. The elder carefully placed a beautiful golden paw medal around Snow's neck. The medal sparkled in the warm evening sunlight. "A hero is not measured by size," the elder said with a smile. "A hero is measured by..." The same little kitten they had ignored that morning had become the hero of the whole village. Then someone started clapping. Filled every street.
I'm really
The
sorry
three
for how
young
we
cats
treated
who had
you.
laughed at
It's
Snow
okay, I
slowly
forgive
walked
you.
forward. They lowered their heads.
I'm really sorry for how we treated you.
We're sorry.
It's okay, I forgive you.
One of them said quietly. "This is what we do next."
We're glad you're with us, Snow.
The three cats smiled with relief. From that day on, they became Snow's friends. As the sun slowly disappeared behind the hills, Whisker Village became quiet once again. Snow walked home with a peaceful smile. He did not feel proud because everyone was cheering. He felt happy because one little life had been saved. As Snow walked through the village, young kittens ran toward him with bright smiles. "Snow! Snow! You're our hero!" they shouted. One tiny kitten stepped forward and handed Snow a small white flower. "This is for you," the little kitten said. Snow accepted the flower with a warm smile. "Thank you, Snow." Evening turned into night. Snow reached his little wooden cottage at the edge of the village. He sat quietly beside the warm fireplace and looked at the golden paw medal around his neck. The medal reminded him of something important. Being a hero was never about getting a reward. It was about helping someone when they needed you the most. Later that night, Snow stepped outside. The stars filled the sky, and the village below looked peaceful. Snow looked up and smiled. "Tomorrow is a new day," he whispered, "and someone may need my help again." The next morning, the first light of the sun touched the trees. As Snow walked along a forest path, he noticed a tiny bird with an injured wing. Without stopping to think, Snow gently picked up the little bird and carried it to safety. After a few moments, the bird flapped its wings and flew happily into the bright blue sky. Snow watched with a smile. Kindness was simply part of who he was. High among the trees, a young fox quietly watched everything over. His name was Rusty. Rusty had never seen anyone risk so much to help others. He smiled to himself. "Maybe," Rusty whispered, "I should meet that little kitten someday." Snow continued walking down the forest path, unaware that a brand new adventure was waiting just around the corner. Sometimes the biggest heroes are not the strongest. Sometimes they are simply the kindest, and sometimes one small act of courage can change many lives. This was only the beginning of Snow's journey. Because in Whisker Village, every whisker has a story.
One small step, one helping hand can change a life across the land.